So we've done quite a bit so far about Borer, and I'm hoping that I think it will be because I want to move on to something else. I'm hoping tonight will be the final of Borer. Borer is so vast. It's so vast for so many reasons, because it encompasses so much more than just the Borer itself. It includes other malachas, and it also kind of crosses over certain parts, and we'll see that a little bit today as we go into the final things. So I'll share my screen with you now, and Bezrat Hashem, we will come out with a new level of understanding of Borer. Okay, so let us go there. We're going to be doing much less text today, except for one text, which is really important. And we're looking at some new things to ponder. There's a lot, as I said. So let's start. Firstly, just like a simple thing of taking your plates off the table on Shabbos, and you want to put and you want to rinse them. So how do you rinse them? Because if you remember, the whole thing is separating the good from the bad. And if that's the case, when you rinse your plates, is that a problem? If you take your tap and you just put the water on that, or can you just fill up a bowl and just throw your plates into the bowl and shalom al Yisrael? Then it's wonderful. Then it's everything we know will just lift to the top. So Rav Moshe Feinstein says, in my humble opinion, I'm inclined to suggest that putting items such as karshin in a vessel. Karshin is a grain which has little chaff on it, and what you put it in a vessel with water, and then the chaff comes up. So he says that's an act of borer. But to put water on top of them and not to submerge them in the water is the way of washing and not the way of borer. Different things. Remember, washing and borer. And washing was never forbidden for produce, just as it was never prohibited for vessels. So you can wash your vessels, but can you take schmutziger things and put them into water and let the schmutz rise to the top? So no, you wouldn't be able to do that, because then it's all encompassed into the thing, and that would be an act of borer, it would seem. Comes along Rav Noivet in Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa, which is, as I said before, is the primary work on Shabbos outside of the Shulchan Aruch and things like that. He was the Talmud of Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, and everything he asked Rav Shlomo Zalman, he wrote down in his sefer. It's an amazing sefer. He says, the fruits or vegetables have psolet mixed throughout them, to the extent that most people would not eat them. So you've got it's all filled with dirt. So then it's forbidden to put them in water so that the psolet will fall off and rise above them. Similarly, it's forbidden to rinse the psolet with a stream of water. Why? Because in that case, the issue of separating psolet from ochel is there as well. Rather, you prepare and rinse the fruit on Erev Shabbos. So if you've got, I'm not talking about fruit that you take out of the fridge like our fruit, Woolies. Can you imagine that there's stuff mixed in the Woolies fruit, that you wouldn't eat? I mean, that would be terrible, right? However, if dirt adheres to the fruits or they have dust or pesticides, the one is allowed to remove the dirt with a stream of water, but one should do so only proximate to eating the fruit. So we're not worried so much about the pesticides and things. You're going to wash it because that's the way to eat it. But it's when there's real schmutz on it. I don't know if you grow your own carrots and there's all the schmutz on the carrots. Ideally, one should be careful to do that. Ideally, Erev Shabbos, you don't have to do the whole thing, but just to get all the most of the schmutz off. Okay, what about, and this is really where it's really a big thing, is what about on Shabbos if you want to have salad and you I know this, I don't mean to make you feel jealous, but we have these you can get by that check lessons, right? Yeah, lekker. So what happens if you only bought
I am jealous.
What happens if you only bought 3 and you need 4 and you've got your lettuce in the fridge and you want to use it? So now the same thing, soaking it is forbidden, because soaking is a borer issue. You soak it and then the stuff rises to the top, so you can't do that. So there are two things. This is from Rav Yosef Tzvi Ramon. He says, remember, there are different types of lettuce. There's lettuce that is clean, but it's not checked clean. In other words, it may still have bugs on it, and we know that that's let's say you buy from Woolies, you still have to check it. So it's why? Because it might still have bugs. So if you have that kind of clean lettuce, So it's not difficult to clean. What does the soaking do? The soaking just simply loosens the bug from the leaf. So he says there that their legs secrete a substance which helps them hang on, and emulsifying soap loosens their hold. That's why you can't just use water to check less. There has to be something that's going to break down the substance which keeps them on, that sticky substance. Okay, so in that case, it's not separating the psolet. The soapy water just loosens the grasp of the bug to the leaf. It's not mixed in, it's just on top of it, so it's not such a serious thing. And then once you've done that, you put it in with a little bit of soapy water. You can use a stream of water to knock the bugs off. Okay, however, there's a problem. What's the problem? The problem is we can't kill the bugs, and so we have to be very careful when we do this, that we don't kill the bugs. If you've got hydroponically grown lettuce, or even lettuce that's already been washed, so then we're not too concerned about the bugs, because you're cleaning it on Shabbos, and the likelihood is that there are not really any bugs, and so there's all different halachic media through where you can go through a sveika, which means a doubt on a doubt. So you're not sure if there are bugs, and you're not sure even if there are bugs whether the thing's going to kill the bugs. So therefore, it's okay to clean it, but that's only with clean. If it's like lettuce that comes straight out of the ground, that could be problematic, because that's for sure you'll kill something, and one has to be careful of that for Shabbos. Okay, this Mishnah Berurah is really going to define our final look at stuff to do with Borer. So I'm going to go through this Mishnah Berurah, because we'll go through it slowly.
Can we go back to the lettuce for 1 second?
Sure.
How do you dry the lettuce then? Are you allowed to?
Yeah, so you can do a spinning thing, because that's not boiler. It's not spinning it.
Okay, so you can spin it and get. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, it has to be immediately before you eat it. You can't prepare it for next day. Okay. So kasva achronim.
Thank you.
No worry. Thank you. It's important to ask questions. Most important. So kasva achronim, the achronim, the latter sages. That's like the people of 100 years, 150 years ago. They say the following: that this whole concept of boirer, that applies to everything where there are two different types of objects. Kogon, for example, kalim or begadim, dishes or cutlery, or begadim, even clothes. Shaykh breira. That's when the concept of breira is appropriate. Okay, therefore he says, he says you must only take the one that you want to take right now. The rest you must leave on the outside. So if you need a knife, take your knife. Don't say, oh, well, I need a knife. I might as well just we'll see that now. Just pack everything away. No, take which one you want, and the rest you have to leave where they are. They're not the opposite way around, by just taking a whole lot and leaving the one that you wanted. Because that would be solid from ochel as opposed to ochel from solid. Because the one that you need is considered to be the ochel. And it's possible. Let's say you've got, now this is not talking about whether in your cupboard, but let's say you've got a coat rack. There's a whole bunch of coats on that coat rack. Okay? But you're looking for your coat that you immediately want to wear. So now look at this. Here you have there's 15 coats on this big coat rack, and you can't see yours. So what do you have to do? You have to move all the other ones away. But in moving the other ones away, is that not the psolet from the ochel? It's not the one that you don't want from the one that you do want. Comes along the Mishnah Berurah, and he says, and it's such an important thing. There's this concept called mechapes. Mechapes, I'm actually going to underline it, because mechapes means to search. To search, mechapes, just over there. That means to search. And when it comes to mechapes, called chipus, so then, if that's the case, then mochrach, he says, lesalek mitchila kol shara bagadim. Lo havi bichlal borer. So he says, then obviously, l'salek, and that's another word. Chipus and siluk. That the one is searching for, another one is just pushing away. You're not separating it. You're not separating to try and separate the different clothes from each other. All you're doing is you want your coat. So therefore, that's considered siluk, and it's not a problem. It's not considered to be borer at all. And so too, as if there's a whole bunch of things sitting next to each other. And the thing that you want to eat is munach lamata, is underneath the thing. So you've got I don't know, a fruits, like a whole fruit basket, and you see that underneath there now it's becoming summer, and you see there looks like a beautiful nectarine that you want. So how can you move all the other fruit to get to the nectarine? He says that's considered to be siluk. Masalek elu shimunachim lamala kadesh yuchal lagia lahamin ashtamata. Says that's called siluk, and since it's called siluk, we don't have to worry. It's not considered to be borer, and you can take those fruits that you don't that are covering the fruit that you do want, and you can move them away, take it, and put them back. No problem. There's a whole bir halacha, but we're not going to go into that right now. So that's an important thing. Hope you like the picture. Wasn't the one I wanted, but it came out anyway. Okay, so let's carry on. So having said that we understand that borer applies not only to food, it also applies to kalim of garden vessels and cutlery and crockery and clothes. So then let's look at this. Now this is like some teenager's room somewhere in the world. Can you want to find something in that pile? Are you allowed to move the pile in order to get that thing? Yes, you would be. You would be allowed to move it for immediate use, because that's considered to be siluk or chipus, especially if you know where it is. I don't know if anyone would know where that is. But if you just want to like move things and you want to like start packing things away, the minute you start doing that, so that's problematic, because that is taking this mixture and changing the mixture. If you're going to, for example, you're going to just simply pack it away, so then there's no immediate use to it. And you remember there are three things. There's bayad, miyad, and ochel. They all have to come together. So if you have one of them, in this case, for example, you just pack it into your cupboard, and you don't have the ochel, you don't have the miyad. You don't have the miyad. So then, therefore, it's not going to. But if you have a cupboard like this one, it should be by us all. So neat and tidy. Then there's no borer issue. There's no siluk issue, obviously, because you can just pick out the clothes, whatever it is that you want, as and when you need to. Okay. And that's why we said this concept of chipus and siluk, you're not improving anything. You're just removing what you want to get to where you want to get. And that's where that Mishnah Berurah is so important. The Mishnah Berurah really defines everything in this case. Okay. What about books? I just want to clear the drawings. What about books? So now, one of the great things that happens in some shuls is that there's one of the holy tzaddikim in the congregation that after you finish the davening, that person goes and collects all the books and then he puts them back in the shelf. And that really is an unbelievable, it really is an amazing midah. So he or she gets all these svarim in this big pile. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to take this big pile of books and they're going to put each book into its place. So we know that has got absolutely nothing to do with immediate use, right? So it's certainly not for use miyad. So can you take it away from this mixture of books and put it miyad? So that becomes a problem. So if that's the case, it is a problem. So what do we do? So therefore, the advice that is given is, number one, take only one book at a time. And it's amazing. I never got it. But there's like this tradition that people go around straight after laning and they collect the chumashim. And then they go and they collect the sidurim. And if that's the case, then it saves the whole thing, because you collect the chumashim and you collect the sidurim. It's just an important thing to bear in mind. The other way to do it, you can gather all the different kinds of books, but wait until Shabbos to replace them on the shelves, which kind of defeats the purpose in a way. Okay? And then the last one is quite a nice idea. The last one is read a short passage from each book before you put it away. Because as you take it off its pile, you read the book and say, oh, I've used it, now you can put it back. And therefore it has immediate use in that way. It's quite a nice little, trick. And it's cute. And it works. And it's good. Okay. because it's the concept of immediate use. Okay. What about toys and games? So toys and games are exactly the same as books. If it's all mixed up together, you can't divide it. You can't say you've got this and this and this and this. And you want to pack it away, so you're going to take your, like when you pack away a chess set on Shabbos, right? So can you pack away your chess set and divide up? You've got all the chess pieces and divide it up into white and black. So you wouldn't be able to do that. Why? Because you've got biyad, using your hands. But you've got no miyad. You're not using it. You're not doing it for immediate use. And since you're not doing it for immediate use, it would be problematic just to be packing away. And that applies. Again, I think that's where this whole thing started. All the toys. Obviously, one can, according to Borer, there are other reasons. We're going to get to that hopefully in the next session. Okay, but there are other things that one has to maybe be careful about, where everything's all spread out all over. There's can you bring it together? Ma'amar, bringing all the stuff together, stuff. That might be another issue. That's something to think about, and that's an important thing. Let's look at cutlery. I want to show you something that I saw from Rav Shlomo Zalman that is astounding. When we get at the end of cutlery. So now, can you set your table on Shabbos? Let's say you're not as neat as all of us are, and you don't have the forks and the knives and everything together. So now I want to set my table on Friday night after the meal for Shabbos morning, for Shabbos lunch, whatever it is. So can I do it? So if all the stuff is mixed up, so then it's a problem, because I can't, if I'm doing it on the night before, it's not for immediate use. Since it's not for immediate use, I've got a mixture of cutlery. I can't undo that mixture by choosing even the things that I want, because it's got to be, even though it's psolet, it's not miyad, and therefore that becomes a problem. So the solution that is brought by Rosh Zalman and others is take your box of cutlery that's all over and just put it onto a flat surface, and then it's no longer mixed because they're all separate. And once they're all separate, then you can so you can pour them out because you want to use them. Right, but you can't separate them yourselves. But now the ready becomes on its own separate because they've been poured onto this flat surface, and now you can use them, and it's not a problem. Okay, this is really
sorry. So can't you pack cutlery away if you've washed?
Oh, we're going to get there now. We're going to get there right now. We'll get there now, and this is really where it applies, because can you pack cutlery away? So let's say, for you, the mess is terrible, and it really, really disturbs your Oneg Shabbos, right? We all want to have Oneg Shabbos. What is Oneg Shabbos? Oneg Shabbos is the Rabbanan, and since Oneg Shabbos is the Rabbanan, it's a concept of just like enjoying Shabbos. Therefore, right, the aesthetic of having this mess is trumped in a way by the Oneg Shabbos, says Rav Shlomo Zalman, and therefore you may be able to separate your knives and your forks and the whole mixture in order to set your table. That's the tshuva of Rav Shlomo Zalman. It would seem to be that it may have, and this is not clear from anybody, it may have the same impact on when you want to put your cutlery away, but it's only if it really upsets you. And this is where there's such an important thing, because it comes out somewhere else, and we're going to go there and we'll kind of come back. Because let's say, once washed, we can't sort them back, but you can pour them out on the table and pick and choose as you need to do. Okay, because that's the easy one to do. But can you rely on the Oneg Shabbos? So I think in a way for us, Oneg Shabbos, the mess, because we're so sensitive to it, because we live in homes where most of us have helped most of the time. Therefore, it may really disturb one's Oneg Shabbos, and under that condition, one might be able to do it. But the best way to do it is really to pour it out on the table, so that you're not doing it from it, because again, there's no immediate use for it. There is a thing. A lot of people have dishwashers, and can you take your cutlery that you've taken off the table and then put it into the dishwasher? It's a completely different discussion. It's not so much a borer discussion, but it's really more of like a Hilchot Shabbos discussion on other things. Can you put the dishes into the dishwasher on Shabbos? So the answer to that is yes, on one condition. What's your motivation? Why are you putting them into the dishwasher? So I'm going to ask the question and throw that out because I think that's a fundamental. Why do we put our stuff into the dishwasher? Okay, I need an answer, guys.
For me, it's just to have a neat house.
Okay, for you, it's just to have a neat house. Anyone else?
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. Okay.
Well, for me, I'd rather do it now than later.
Oh, why would you? What do you
Wow.
mean by later? Later, putting it into the dishwasher, it'll get washed, washed, right? So that
Exactly.
becomes an issue. Why? And that's where he said, yeah, oh, it was supposed to become animated. So I'd like that would like hit you with these answers, but I'm sorry about that. Okay. So what do we have here? We have, what's your motivation? If the point is to store it, to get it out of the way, because it's really upsetting you that your kitchen is now dirty. Everything else is clean except your piles of dishes. So you put it in the dishwasher and okay, at least it's out of the way. So then it's okay. Why? Because that's on Shabbos. However, if, on the other hand, the purpose is because you really, and thank you for your honesty, is because you really, you rather do it now rather than later, it's because you're really planning just for the cleaning. So then that becomes the thing of what we call hachana. Hachana on Shabbos is a fundamental problem because you're not allowed to prepare on Shabbos for after Shabbos. And that applies to so many things and so many ways that we do things. And since you're not allowed to prepare on Shabbos for after Shabbos, if your motivation, and obviously one has to have, one has to have total integrity on how you define what you're going to be doing. But if the plan is to do it for after Shabbos and not just simply for storage, so then it is it's not ideal, and one shouldn't do that. Okay, so it's better when you actually do, if you are going to then stack the dishwasher, right? So now you've got a whole stack of dishes. Now what are you going to do with it? Because, right, if you have to unstack them to place them in the sink or the dishwasher, it could be a borer issue because you're putting them this one there and this one there and this one there. So it always bothered me that because it's if you're just going to put them down, it's one thing. But if you actually have to then undo them, you've got a whole stack. That becomes a borer thing. And I was not 100% like fully versed in this. And then I saw this, and it's clear from the Igros Moshe that there are two things you should. Firstly, don't place different dishes or utensils in the same stack, because then you've got a problem. The minute you take them out, you're separating different things. If it's the same dishes, all your plates or all your bowls or all your whatever, then it would seem to be okay. Or the other way is just simply remove each item from the table and place directly into the sink or the dishwasher. That's in the world where we're hoping that everybody's going to help to take off. But if that's the case, one should try and do it, because there is borer at all these different places if things are mixed up. Remember, if we go right back all the way to the beginning, I'm just going to go all the way. I just want you to see what we've done. It's quite unbelievable how much we've covered. If you remember, borer is, let's get there, is selecting an item from a mixture. That's ultimately what it is. And a mixture, different types, mingled, attached, or absorbed. And the mingled means mixed nuts, cutlery, toys. It's just all mixed together. Attached when there's actually meat and bones or peels on the fruit, and absorbed where it's actually in the breadcrumbs in the soup. All of these things have borer issues with them. Obviously, we haven't covered the whole gamut of the kitchen or the lounge, the dining room. We've done a lot, and I think we've spent a lot of principles. And in having gone through all these principles, I'm hoping that it's now made a much more conscious space on what borer is. And I think that just as we go now into the month of Elul, there's a fascinating Mateh Ephraim. The Mateh Ephraim was one of the great halachas of his time. And what he did is he wrote a book specifically on the Yamim Noraim, because he said that people don't understand. And one of the things that he writes there, he says, what are we supposed to be doing during this time? What is our our avodah during this specific time that we are in right now. Elul. What? So he says, obviously, we got to go through tshuva. We got to do all these things that we're supposed to be doing. But that's quite, in a way, esoteric. So if that's the case, do tshuva, whatever tshuva is, whatever it means. So he said, let me give you something practical to do. And he says the following, that I'm going to share the screen of this because it's a very beautiful statement and I think it's worthwhile looking at. He says the following. He says, Kfar bi'arnu. He says, I already explained. Ki chodesh Elul hu me'utad l'tshuva. That chodesh Elul, the month of Elul, is specifically focused on tshuva. And a person who has all reverence, fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he should check his deeds or her deeds. And what should you do? That you should sit before your meal. You should sit before you go to sleep. That you should sit at those times because they're like quite specific times, and sit and think about having deep work inside to find your sin, and you have to have a certain amount of charota, of regret on those sins, and then you admit it, and then you'll be healed. And when we do that hard work, then he says, Yosef ometz b'kiyum mitzvot. The word ometz is a difficult word to translate directly because the word ometz is often used in conjunction with the word chazak, like we say chazak ve'amatz. And the Malbim explains, I saw this last week and it's just so beautiful. The Malbim explains, what's the difference between chazak and amatz? Chazak is chizuk, where we say like we need chizuk. What is chizuk? What is chazak? Chazak is that strengthening of an immediate nature. Immediately we get a certain level of strength and it gives us the impetus to move on to the next step. But imut is also chizuk. It's also strengthening, but it's not a transitory or temporary chizuk. Imut is a sustainable sense of strength, of character, of connection to that what there is. And it comes along the Mate Ephraim and he says, when we start thinking about what we do, Yosef imut b'kiyum mitzvot, we get this imut, we get the sustained connection to do mitzvot in a completely different way. And then he says, and this is really is quite an amazing thing. What are we supposed to be so careful about doing this month? Right now. And he says, Kiddush Levana, saying Kiddush Levana. Why Kiddush Levana? So we all know, right, that at the after Rosh Chodesh, 3, 4, 5 days into, the month, we can see a little bit of the moon, and we go out and we say the special bracha called Kiddush Levana. Now, women are not obligated in that because it's a mitzvah that I say shows man grama. It's a positive mitzvah bound by time. But he says the important point here that why is Kiddush Levana during the month of Elul so important? Shehi mitzvah overet. It's a mitzvah that is overet. It's a mitzvah that passes. It's a mitzvah that has a specific time base to it. And if the mitzvah has a specific time base to it and you miss the time, then you miss the mitzvah. And I was just thinking about it when I was finishing my preparation for our Borer thing, is that Shabbos is also a mitzvah overet. But the consciousness of Shabbos is the most important thing, that as we go through all these things that we're going through, one of the things we've got to remember is that if you miss the opportunity on Shabbos to not do the thing that we shouldn't be doing, then what's happened is you actually make a halal, you made like a break in the very fabric of what Shabbos is. And so therefore, what we need to do is to try in our world to find the space of Yosef imut b'kiyum mitzvot, to find the sustainable strength in our kiyum of mitzvot. And the one single way that we can do that is just by thinking about what we're doing. And that's the purpose of what we've been learning. So please, Rat Hashem, will continue. And we'll continue to get ometz in kiyum mitzvot, strength in our fulfillment of our mitzvot, in our fulfillment of our connection. And Bezrat Hashem, that will stand us in good stead. The minhag is that during this time, as we go into the month of Elul, so the minhag is that we start saying Shana Tova, we start saying Siva Chasima Toiva. So you'll hear it for a few weeks. If you come back to the shir, I just want to wish everybody, please God, it should continue bracha and revealed bracha in the new year. Brocha of Gashmiut, of material success, of Ruchiyut, and of spiritual success in everything that we have. Please God, only good things.
Amen.
Thank you. Let's stop there, and Bezrat Hashem, we'll continue next week. Have a beautiful week.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank
God
Thank
bless.
you